stuff. And mental health is on a continuum. Here's reality. What is, not what I want, not what I think, not what should be. What is, even if it's unpleasant and uncomfortable. So mental illness is defined by the degree of disconnection from reality. So we go from healthy to mentally ill. And there are a couple of organizations that estimate the percentage of adults living in the United States, only 6% are mentally ill. The rest of us just have normal life stuff going on. So it's about how we respond to that. So my client base is from healthy to injured. They're just having negative reactions to normal life stress. So mentally ill, those are the most severe symptoms: suicidality, homicidality, psychosis, disability. And there are some medical conditions that mimic mental illness, so it's important to get checked out. And so these are some of the signs and symptoms of the earlier phases in that mental health spectrum. So let me share my mental health, one of my mental health issues, and how I got back to Wellth, just to see how it plays out in real life. And it's not that you're crazy or insane, it's just normal life stuff. So in July of 2009, my favorite cousin died. She was 5 days older than me, and she just succumbed to her chronic illness. In December of 2009, my elderly mother had major surgery, and while the surgery was successful, she failed to thrive afterwards, and she passed in April of 2010. And because of issues that went on during her illness, I was estranged from my siblings for almost 2 years. One sibling that I did stay in contact with was my brother, Kenny. And Kenny announced after my mother was laid to rest that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. He was 47. So this was in around May when he told us. By August of 2010, he couldn't walk. He was at work, couldn't walk, went to the hospital. They found that the prostate cancer had metastasized, wrapped around his spine, and it was inoperable. So they sent him to a spinal care clinic in St. Louis, a specialty clinic. And so I flew out to support him. And this is a get well card from his union buddies. Went to PT with him. And this clinic was amazing. They arranged for patients to go to a St. Louis Cardinals game. And it was just so joyful for me, not only to be with my brother, I was able to see these other incapacitated people smile and enjoy themselves. So it was a beautiful time, even though it was stressful and a little worrisome. Kenny was born on July 4th, so every year we normally had a big bash for him. So I flew out to go to his party, spoke to him the morning of to say happy birthday. He did not sound right, so I spoke to his wife. She decided to keep him home. She said he had cooked the entire day before. This man's in a wheelchair, and he cooks his own birthday dinner. And by the way, his beef ribs were amazing. So because he was staying home, I went to his house instead of to the party. And as the night passed, his wife got him settled and gave him his medication. So I'm sitting next to him. His hospital bed is here. I'm in a chair here. So I'm sitting next to him, holding on to him and talking to his wife in front of me. Then Kenny's breath deepens, and he settles, and it deepens, and then it stops. His wife checks him, and she couldn't find a pulse. So we get his sons to come and put him on the floor. I started CPR, did a few rounds until the paramedics arrived. They did a few more rounds and then pronounced him. Kenny passed 8 minutes after his 51st birthday. Very painful. Though I had to soldier on. At the time, I ran a 501c3 charitable organization, and I had an annual event that was already scheduled the day after his funeral. So I had to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, catch a flight home, hustle, get to the event. Didn't really have a lot of time to mourn, and I probably didn't really want to because I didn't understand his death. The other deaths I could kind of make sense of, the chronic illness. My mother was elderly. Kenny was a vibrant man, productive member of society, wife, 2 kids. He worked hard. So it didn't really make a lot of sense to me, so that stayed with me. The next charity event that I did was in early November of 2013, and we did a tribute to Kenny. There, oops. Oh, what is happening? Technology is great when it works. So in November of 2013, we did a tribute to Kenny with a video montage. That's a poem I wrote for him, and Christy sang Amazing Grace a cappella. It was beautiful, moving. The very next morning, I woke up and I felt 500 pounds heavier. I could not move. I was emotionally flat. It was, I hit the bottom or the bottom hit me, I don't know. And in the ensuing days, I cried a lot until I realized that it wasn't fatigue, I was depressed. And my unresolved, unprocessed grief gave way to depression, which it often does. So I had 4 friends who were part of my inner circle that I communicated with on a regular basis. And when they called me, as they normally did, and heard something in my voice they didn't like. So when they asked what was going on, I told them because I trusted them. And they responded with, "I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do? Can I help?" These people did not try to cheer me up. They did not try to talk me out of my experience. They offered no platitudes, which, by the way, are more harmful than good to people in pain. And so one by one, these individuals took it upon themselves to extend me a lifeline. One would call, one would text, one would email, another would call, another would text, another would email. So it was this cosmic tag team. And there was something greater at work here because they were not in communication with each other. So every day I heard from at least one of them just checking in. No pressure to be different than I was. And Alice, my friend and mentor since undergraduate school, this woman dispenses wisdom as effortlessly as she blinks. And so after hearing what was going on with me, she takes a deep breath and says, "I don't know what to say, except don't give up on yourself." Whew, way over my head. And then Mary Lynn, my activity buddy, "Let's go hiking." "No." "We should go hiking." "No." "Go hiking with me." "No." So finally she stopped asking, and she just said, "Glenn, I'll be at your house 8 o'clock on Sunday." Guess what? 8 o'clock on Sunday, I was ready. So we went hiking, and as soon as I stepped on the path, the smells of dirt and the rocks and the plants and the sounds of footsteps on the gravel and the voices in the distance all garnered my attention. And so we reach a point in the hike where it dead ends. So we have to scale up some rocks, a few feet of rocks, to get to the next level. I don't like to climb. I was very scared. Yet I pushed on and channeled my fear into focus. I made sure I watched as my hands grabbed onto rocks and made sure I was stepping on a solid rock to push up. So with elevated heart rate, I did make it up there, and we walked further on until the path took another turn. Off to the right, the rocks went straight up. And then off to the left was this little mound of rocks. So I said to Mary Lynn, I'm going to stop here. And she said, okay. And she went on. She did her thing and let me do my thing. And when she came back down, oh, did I do that again? Oh, there we go. Okay. When she came back down, she shared that picture with me. That's me. Just sitting on the rocks, taking in nature, the sounds, the smells, the cool air across my face. This was like December in Las Vegas, which the air gets really cool. And by the way, if you ever go to Las Vegas, please visit Red Rock Canyon. It is a beautiful natural red rock formation area with a ton of hiking trails. Beautiful. So I'm sitting there, and then when she shows me this, I'm like, ooh, I'm really glad I didn't go with her. So I take it all in, and that was a welcome reprieve from the depression. The next charity event was in early 2014, about 3 months into my depression. And in the depression, because I couldn't make sense of Kenny dying, I stopped caring. I stopped taking care of myself. I stopped crying. I stopped socializing. I stopped making new plans. And while I wasn't actively suicidal, I really believed that God would have mercy and take me. I thought God would take me and I'd be dead by summer of 2014. So while I didn't make new plans, I continued with my commitments of what was already on my calendar. And so the next charity event was 3 months into my depression. And the photographer chased me down as I avoided her all night. Glen, we need to get a picture of you, whatever. And so as I'm sorting through the event pictures afterwards, and I come across this one, all I see is sorrow and pain all over my face. And when I was just struck by it. And so I started having an argument with myself about the next commitment that was coming up. As a licensed massage therapist at that time, I worked with the Women's Tennis Association at the professional tournament in Indian Wells. And so that was coming up in March, about a month after this event. So when I saw this picture, I was like, I don't want to go, but you made a commitment. I can cancel. You booked a condo. I can't do this. You signed a contract. So as I'm having this argument, okay, Alice's words come back to me. Glen, don't give up on yourself. And I realized that I gave up. And when that realization broke my heart. To know that I gave up on life was excruciating because I love breathing. I love laughter, creating authentic connection. I love learning. I love challenges even. And to know that I gave up on my ability to cope with life was excruciating. And it was the turning point. You see, healing requires the courage to face and dismantle the negative identity that gets imprinted during a painful or traumatic experience. And mine was that I couldn't handle it. So I said, okay, I'll go to Indian Wells. And there, I had conversations with Grand Slam champion Lisa Huber about health and wellness. She introduced me to USANA, which is a nutrition and supplement company founded in 1992 in Salt Lake City. The founder is Dr. Myron Wentz, a microbiologist who owned Gulf Labs, and he developed the test for the Epstein-Barr virus. So he sold Gulf Labs and then opened up USANA, and they have their own scientists who make their products, so they have great quality control. And so as I'm looking through their products, and as I'm mapping out my road back to Wellth, I said, I need to start physically. I need to detox because I did a lot of damage. During the Depression, I ate whatever I wanted. I drank whatever I wanted. I stopped working out. I gained weight. I didn't feel good. I had headaches. I was so nervous driving. It was awful. And so I said, I need to undo some of that. So I did their 5-day cleanse, which is 5 days of low glycemic protein bars and shakes, supplements, vegetables, and clear liquids. So at the end of the 5 days, I was buoyant again. I had my energy back. My mind was more clear. And I lost 3 pounds. 3 pounds is really a big deal for me. My metabolism is so slow that when I play 2 hours of tennis in the sun, I burn about 100 calories. Some of you burned 100 calories just walking in from the parking lot, and I am so jealous. So the 3 pounds was a nice bonus. So I went to Facebook and I posted about the weight loss, and then I posted 2 months later because I still had sustained nutritional balance. I still felt good, and I was well on my way to recovery. So some of the comments that I got from friends were, congratulations, bravo, Glen, well done. Eat whole foods and you'll get your body back. What? Left field. So I asked her for clarification, and I kept it light because my posts were public. And she just insisted that her way was the way. So I finally private messaged her, and I said, please don't disparage me on my wall. If you don't like what I post, don't read it, don't respond. So she continued to defend herself because she knew more than nutritionists and doctors, and she was just a layperson like me, right? And so this was my last message to her. She never asked anything about me. She just wanted me to follow what she said to do. And her response again was more self-defense. And at that point, I'm like, okay, let's put a stop to this, because that's her stuff, which I have no control over and no interest in dealing with. This is my stuff over here. I need to take care of me. And if any expert tells you what to do without taking into consideration your medical conditions, your finances, your lifestyle, your family situation, your work schedule, if they don't account for your uniqueness, run. Because one size does not fit all. And if I had followed her, things would have happened and gone wrong. Another defining moment in my journey back to Wellth was I met best-selling author Patrick Snow. And he offered to work with me to write my own book. And I'm like, with some depression still lingering, my automatic thought was, why? And then my intuition, inner wisdom, healthy mind piped up and said, why not? And Living in Total Health was born. It is available in ebook, paperback, and limited hardcover edition, and we do have copies in the back of the room. And Living in Total Health the second edition was published in 2019, yet it continues to win awards, most recently this past July. And overall have won 5 awards from 3 different organizations. Because my goal in writing Living in Total Health was to provide pertinent, useful information for you to create your own path to health, to account for your own uniqueness and make it work for you and not just follow the expert. And so I think of Living in Total Health as it's not a how-to, it's a why-to. Or as Doug Llewellyn of People's Court fame said, it's a way to. It's a way to. Now, I want to share my top 10 Wellth tools. I use them myself, and I work with clients on these tools. What I ask of you as I go through the tools is to consider which tools might be applicable to you. Sometimes clients get stuck in just gathering knowledge and not using it. So see which ones can easily integrate into your life or that you could work on and see how it benefits you, and if it doesn't, then don't do it, okay? The clients I work with, again, here's reality, and they are on the healthy to the injured spectrum, part of the spectrum of the mental health. And mostly anxious, anxiety and depression, mood disorders. So this is how I conceptualize anxiety and depression. Anxiety is future-oriented gloom or doom thinking. Anxiety tricks you into believing you must have all the answers, you must fix all the problems, you must do it right now, and guarantee it'll work out. That's anxiety, and it's unrealistic. We humans don't have the capacity to know everything. We don't have the ability to fix everything, and we have zero control over the future. So while anxiety has you focused on what you can't control, it's a setup for failure because it robs you of your time, attention, and energy from what you do have control over. And that's the here and now. And depression is basically the opposite. Depression is dwelling on the past, and that presents as either, why did that happen to me? Or why can't things be the way they were? Similar issue. We can't time travel, we can't change a thing about the past. The best we can do is honestly reflect on what happened, the facts of what happened, not the negative identity that got imprinted when it happened. Look at the facts, see if there's some useful information that you can learn from to help make a good decision in the here and now to positively influence your future. So that's the bulk of my work with clients who are not present, okay? Being present and mindful is having your mind and your body in the same space and time, because you are here, you're not there, and you're not there. So tip number 1, practice mindfulness to be present. Meditation, which is not a blank mind, it's detachment from what is in your mind. And I am proud to say that I'm up to 914 consecutive days of meditating, my personal best. Breathing. There are a number of breathing techniques that will elicit specific responses. My go-to is the deep abdominal breathing that we're born doing, like a baby, when you change a baby's diaper. So deep breathing is very centering and can cement you in the present moment. Being creative, engaging in a hobby, music, gardening, is centering. It promotes mindfulness and inner peace. And by the way, the Locals Guide editor, Shields Belisik, was on the Glen show this past August talking about creative wealth. Another one of my tools for mindfulness is the Stress Less box. I created it to teach clients how to ground.
I am going to hold something up, and I want you to just describe what you see. Just name the words or shapes or objects or colors that you see. You will not be graded. There is no right or wrong answer. And you don't even need to be concerned about interpreting what you see. Just describe it. Okay. Can you see that clearly?
Yes, I see.
We've got it streaming now, so if you want to tell her.
Like a bow line and trees, palm trees, it looks like a blue sky.
Okay. How about here?
I see several pine trees, other vents. It looks like there might be snow on the ground.
Okay. And how about here?
I see a person sitting cross-legged with mudras on their hands and a background of lots of colors.
Okay. And this one?
It seems like a roadside, like maybe as if you were driving through the desert, and a very cloudy sky.
What do you see here?
Stress less box and tissues.
Okay. What was that like for you?
It was fine, just, describing stuff.
Okay. As you were looking at the images, were you thinking about anything else?
No,
Okay. Were there any worries or concerns or any thoughts of stress?
no.
No. Okay. So the purpose of this stress less box is to promote mindfulness and to ground you when those worries and those negative thoughts start to take hold. It's to just pick up the box. You can turn your tissue box into the stress less box and have that on your desk and just pick it up and look at the images. Okay? And that will help ground you and help you be mindful, because when we are present, anxiety and depression are not there.
Good to know.
Okay. So the other benefit of the stress less box is it's a metaphor for an issue. So if you have a problem, say the problem is having enough money to pay rent.
Okay.
The box is the problem paying rent. So one way to look at it is, I'm gonna get kicked out. Another way to look at it is, well, maybe I could cut back on the electricity to make ends meet. So this box represents different perspectives of the same issue. Often anxiety and depression tells you that there's only one way to see it, and that's usually negative. But when you can flip the issue over in your mind, you open up options.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that can help keep anxiety and depression at bay.
Tip number 2, as Olivia Newton-John said, let's get physical. Okay? No matter how good you look on the outside, how fit, how slender, that is no indication of what's happening inside your body. High blood pressure is called the silent killer for a reason. You don't feel it. And no one looking at my big burly brother could see cancer growing inside of him. So I strongly recommend that you get regular checkups to know what's going on inside your body. And that to me is empowering, because it avails you of more choices now than later. Movement. Organized, systematic movement is one of the best ways to mitigate anxiety and depression and to change your emotional state. So, organized, systematic movement burns off negative excess energy, redirects your attention in a healthy way, and releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals we naturally make. The feel-good stuff that people take drugs for. We can make that naturally. So whether your chosen activity is going to the gym or walking or yoga or biking or my favorite, tennis, okay, engage. And if you don't like exercise, then simply reframe it to activity or movement. Tip number 3, nourish yourself with mindful consumption. We all know the dangers of overindulging in junk food. Are we aware of the dangers of healthy foods? The whole foods that she wanted me to take, which would have created unnecessary suffering for myself because I have GI conditions and I can't metabolize a lot of those healthy foods. My GI doctor even told me to stay away from roughage and raw vegetables. Imagine that, okay? So it is really important to understand how your body responds to certain foods and not just follow the fad or the trend. And I also have food allergies, which diagnostics help me determine. Certain foods will trigger an immune response. My body thinks those foods are diseases and will try to attack it. I also have food sensitivities, which create GI distress even though they don't elicit the immune response. So it's important to understand where you are, what your needs are, and how to best meet your needs. Again, if that expert tells you what to do without considering this, run. Nourishing yourself also includes what you expose yourself to. The depressing and fearful news. How about doom scrolling? Okay, looking at how lavish and perfect other people's lives are, which often makes my clients more depressed, right? True crime. Anxious clients love true crime for some reason. I have one client who was actually robbed at gunpoint, and she survived that, so she watched the true crime every night before she went to bed, had nightmares, checked her doors 20 times. I'm like, well, what's the purpose of it? How do you benefit from watching that? She said, well, I need to know what's out there so I can be prepared. Well, you already lived through it. What did you learn from that experience? So exposures matter. And I agree with Einstein. Exposure to negative and toxic people is just as damaging to your health and well-being. Okay? So be mindful of what you expose yourself to. Okay? And that means vetting your circle. Don't let just anybody in your life. And as Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I will add voluntarily spend the most time with, because you don't always have control over who your coworkers are. And if you're a teacher, you don't always have control over who's in your class. So I'm talking about the people you voluntarily spend your free time with. Okay? Are they abusive, hypercritical, negating, controlling? Or do they support you? Do they lend that helping hand? Do they walk with you along your path while giving you enough space to be, like my cosmic tag team did? So be mindful of who you allow in your life. And that includes relatives, by the way. So when it comes to thinking, don't believe everything you think, okay? Because thoughts are not facts. Thoughts often are not even an accurate reflection of reality. Here. So if you follow the unrealistic thoughts down the rabbit hole, there you go. So we tend to distort reality because we don't like reality. We want something different. And these are the 5 most common cognitive distortions I encounter with my clients. Black and white thinking. All, nothing, good, bad, always, never, right, wrong. So only those 2 poles exist. If you don't fit in one category, then you're automatically in the other. No choice. Okay? The problem is humanity is way more dynamic than that. There is a lot of gray. So the purpose of becoming aware of your distorted and unrealistic thinking is to reframe it into something more realistic and more empowering. So my reframe for black and white thinking is to allow yourself to see the gray areas. Ask yourself, how else can you see the issue? And flip it over in your mind so you can see other possibilities. Raise your hand if you make assumptions. Oh, okay.
Can you say it again, because I'm not really big high.
Raise your hand if you make assumptions.
Assumptions?
Jump to conclusions.
Sometimes yes,
Okay.
sometimes I deny it.
Okay. So when you jump to a conclusion, you assume you know what's going to happen. You assume you know what they are going to say. You assume you know what they're going to think. You assume you know what they feel. Then I hope you make it to the other side. Because anxiety says you should already know, and the reality is you probably don't. So my reframe for jumping to conclusions is to simply ask yourself, it's not going to work out. Well, is it true? It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna go my way. How do you know that? A lot of this stuff we don't know until we engage, right? We don't know ahead of time if it's going to happen. Okay.
That's my word.
And
Sorry.
okay.
You are in my line, that's why. I'm sorry.
Okay. So by asking yourself those questions, you disrupt the thinking pattern and you invite your healthy mind to come in and answer it for you. Is it true? Well, no, it's not true. How do you know that? I don't know that. And so that opens you up to reality. Labeling. I am black. I am short, or as Mike said, vertically challenged, okay? I am is permanent language. None of those traits about me will change. Always will be. It's the same psychological message to say, I am stupid, I am weak, I am lazy, I'm unlovable. It's permanent. How defeating is that? Okay. When the reality is there may be an issue or situation that you want to be different. So identify the issue that you want to change rather than the character assassination. Okay? Because a character assassination will keep you stuck. Taking action will be more beneficial. So my reframe for that is to identify what's the action that I want to correct or the behavior I want to correct or the situation I want to change, rather than attack yourself. Nod your head if you have trouble taking a compliment. Okay. Disqualifying the positive. That's when someone only hones in on the negative. What's wrong? What's missing? What ain't? Okay? The reality is that there are more positives than they allow themselves to see. So that presents in taking compliments as dismissing the compliment, disqualifying it. I have a client who volunteers for her church, and she does whatever is asked gratefully, happily. And so one day another member came up to her and said, I just want to thank you for all you do. And my client literally said to her, other members do more. Wasn't the point at all. So she just diminished herself. Okay? So my reframe for disqualifying the positive is to simply say thank you. No matter what you think or believe, only utter thank you. And the more my clients do that, then the more they start to see positives within and around them. They start to acknowledge what they do well. And they can start to see how things actually are working in some areas of their lives. Okay? Who here shoulds themselves? That expression was priceless.
Say that again, please.
Do you should yourself? You should. You should. I should. Okay? Should statements. Should statements are the internalized standards and expectations of someone else that you try to force yourself to live up to. Okay? I don't believe we're born shoulding ourselves. Somewhere along the way, we learn that this is the only way to be. You have no choice. If you're not this way, you won't get love, you won't get approval, you won't be respected. This is it. Okay? That is very disempowering because it deprives you of your choice, your self-determination. Okay? The other issue with should statements is if this way of being does not align with your uniqueness, your goals, your purpose, your innate gifts and talents, then you create this internal struggle. I should, and you just fight yourself. So if it aligns, great. If it doesn't, not so great. So my reframe for should statements is could yourself. Think of the last time you should've yourself, whether it's I should have come earlier, or I should have eaten before I arrived, or I shouldn't have eaten before I arrived, and rephrase that sentence, replacing should with the word could. Just repeat that to yourself and see if there's a different feel to it. Well, I could work out, or I could read, or I could relax, or I could call mom. Okay? You avail yourself of real possibilities and choices rather than trying to force yourself into this narrow way of being. So when it comes to distorted thinking, it is the thought that counts. So make it realistic. I didn't attend to my emotions after Kenny died, and my grief evolved into depression. Emotional intelligence is crucial to mental and overall health. And I conceptualize our emotional experiences as layered, like the ocean. At the top is the wave with all the splashing and the fury, all the energy is up there. That to me represents the physical sensations of emotions. The lump in the throat, the knot in the stomach. And the emotion itself, anger, sadness, fear, joy, or love, is accompanied by some of those feelings. Now, it's individual how your feelings align with your emotions, because some clients will get hot in the face when they're angry, and they'll get hot in the face when they're afraid. So the context lets them know if it's fear or if it's anger, okay? So you have your feelings, your emotions, and every emotion is necessary. Anger, sadness, fear, joy, love. They are necessary because they carry messages that we need to be aware of and know what's going on in our lives so we can act appropriately if necessary. So underneath the emotion is the message. Okay? You identify the message, then you can identify your options for responding to whatever is going on. Leave that relationship, walk out, drive away, hang up the phone, okay? Now, what we can do is often very different than what we're willing to do. So after you identify your options, then you get to your level of empowerment by consciously choosing which course of action to take, if any. And if you decide not to act, that's okay too. That's better than being stuck in the feelings or not doing anything at all, okay? So attending to our emotions is huge. Please get some sleep. Deep, restorative sleep, I think, is the best thing since sliced bread, okay? Sleep affects every area of health, every area. And sleep deficits are associated with diminished cognitive functioning, Alzheimer's, prohibited healing, the natural healing processes in the body get diminished. Increased inflammation is associated with sleep deficits, and the ability to lose weight is lessened when there's sleep deprivation. And it's very difficult to be emotionally stable when you are not sleeping well, okay? And sleep deficits look just like ADHD. Just think about it. When you don't sleep well, are you as mentally clear the next day? Are you as focused? Can you record what you are exposed to? Can you recall it then? Probably not. Does your mind bounce around? Okay, probably. So sleep is huge, huge, okay? So get some rest. Journaling.
Sleep doesn't come at all. What happens?
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that sleep is measured in a 24-hour period, not just overnight. So sometimes you can catch up with a power nap the next day, okay? And then we can talk more one-on-one about that. Journaling, one of my favorite tips. Journaling has been shown to allow for emotional release and mental processing of issues, reduces stress, anxiety, and depression, improves the immune system, which benefits your overall well-being. And one form of journaling is, and by the way, I do have handouts on journaling that you can pick up before you go, or Mike will pass them out. One of my favorite forms of journaling is the unsent letter. Emphasis on unsent, okay? This is a letter you write to someone or about a situation that you are at odds with. So you get this pen and paper and you just let them have it. Grammar doesn't matter, spelling doesn't matter, content really doesn't matter, and language doesn't matter. Let them have it. That is a cathartic release for you to release some of that pent-up mental and emotional energy, okay? And clients who actually do the unsent letter report to me that it is very cathartic for them. Emphasis on unsent, okay? That's not for the other person, it's for you. One of my other favorite forms of journaling is the mind dump. Some people call it the brain dump. And I recommend clients who have difficulty sleeping, as the last thing they do before they turn off the light to go to sleep is to take a pen and paper and just write whatever is on your mind. It could be your to-do list for the next day, it could be what happened during the day, it could be blah, 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 whatever it is. And that will help release some of that pent-up mental and emotional energy so your mind and your body can relax. And the clients who actually do that do report that they get a better quality of sleep. Okay. And actually, I had a conversation with a journal therapist on the Glen show last year, and all the replays are available on my YouTube channels. Tip number 9, problem solve. Anxious clients in particular, if they think and 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 think, that'll fix it. Well, if thinking alone were enough, it'd be fixed, right? We have to take action. We have to take action. And the first step is to identify your locus of control. What is your personal realm of control over that situation and at that time? What we have control over, for sure, is what we say, do, think, and feel at any given moment. So once you identify what you have control over and let go of what you don't, that frees up some mental and emotional energy as well. Another step in problem solving is to break it down into manageable pieces, okay? Is this big blob, remember the movie The Blob? This big creature that had no weakness, was not attackable, okay? And that's how anxious clients approach things. That is this big nebulous cloud that they have to fix all of it at the same time and make sure it's a perfect result, okay? Not realistic. So when you break it down, that is empowering because it hones you in on what you have control over. So I have a client 2 months after she moved into a new home. She still had boxes piled up in the corner. And so she just berated herself for being lazy because it should have been done. She should have had it done within a couple of weeks. It wasn't, blah, 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 blah. So every time she saw the boxes, she got depressed and mad at herself. So we talked about it. She has chronic issues, chronic pain. And so we talked about it. Well, what's your stamina? What's your endurance? And after she thought about it, she said, well, I can do something for 15 to 30 minutes and I'll be okay. Okay. So she started to unload a box, take a break, go back and put those things away, take a break, and then the next day do the same. So over time, her boxes did get unpacked because she broke it down into what she could manage. And so learning is in the doing. We don't know the outcome of many things, okay? We humans are such spectacular creatures that when we are present, we get immediate feedback from our actions. And then we will know if something works or if it doesn't, or if we need to make adjustments, okay? We must act, though, to get that feedback. We can't just think about it. So taking action is part of problem solving, okay? Now, boundaries. I believe that healthy boundaries are the foundation of health and happiness. Many of my clients who have stress and burnout and overwhelm and past issues in relationships, a lot of that boils down to poor boundaries. And Living Boundaries, the ebook is scheduled for release next month, and the paperback will be released in early December, just in time for Christmas. Okay? And Living Boundaries takes a deep dive into boundaries and expands on the boundaries chapter in Living in Total Health. So these are some of the typical issues that I encounter with clients. And one across the board is too many people believe that healthy boundaries are only about saying no. So for me, if you find yourself in the position of having to say yes or having to say no, then you haven't properly managed your boundaries up to that point. So part of the deep dive of Living Boundaries is I talk about the context of boundaries, the truths about boundaries, which are the unchanging characteristics about boundaries. The green flags, they're green flags, not just red flags. How to communicate. I provide over 50 real-life examples of poor boundaries, healthy boundaries. How to communicate boundaries effectively. I talk about how boundaries impact mental health. And Living Boundaries is also a workbook. There are worksheets in there, questionnaires, and exercises. And one really important part of my work in total health and wanting everyone to be wealthy is I talk about healthy boundaries are a human issue. They are not the sole responsibility of women. If more men, those with non-conforming gender identities, leaders, politicians, doctors, teachers, construction workers, farmers, if more people across the board had healthier boundaries, guess what?
No.
The world would be safer and more accepting of everyone. Okay? So these are just a couple of reviews of Living Boundaries coming out soon. So in wrapping up, so you can live in wealth, okay? It's about total health, the balance of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects, how well they balance and complement and support each other, okay? And the mental health part of that, if you use the tips that I just went through, then that could also benefit you as well and help you successfully navigate through life's challenges, because mental health is not the absence of problems. So my challenge again to you is to identify one or two tips that might be helpful for you if there's an area of your life you want to shore up. Try it. You can always do more research on your own, or you can start with Living in Total Health and then follow up with Living Boundaries. And then you can also work with me if you need additional support or guidance, or if you know anyone else who might. I'm licensed in Nevada and Oregon, and I accept over 160 insurances, and I do teletherapy though, nothing in person, okay? So I wanna thank each and every one of you for being here, for your attention, for your presence, and the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Mike and Bea and Ann, and I wish all of you well. And to show my appreciation, I do have some special offers available today, and Mr. Benjamin in the back is ready to help you. So thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah, I pick you up. I'm sorry for yourself. I'm terrible.
You are okay.
I know that I am.
Okay.
That is, always I'm okay. Yeah, even though when it comes wrong.
Yes.
It's a lesson to me
Okay.
when I make a mistake.
Okay.
I would like to talk to you because I want to get one-on-one with you.
Okay. Well, we can talk after, or you can take one of my cards and then reach out to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, you talked about the gray areas,
Uh-huh.
and I'm thinking, and I did yesterday, that sometimes maybe there are no gray areas. I mean, I think, you know, what is being done to immigrants and other people in our world is terrible and it's wrong, and that's it. It's black and white. For me, it's very black and white.
Okay.
So how would you deal, I mean, how do you, I guess my real question is, how do you deal with the current political situation?
The question is, how do I deal with the current political situation, given that she believes that what's space, so to speak. So if your morality, your beliefs don't align with some of the decisions of our political leaders, that's okay. And I applaud you for standing up for that. Okay? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Runaway
When I
dog.
work with people, I notice sometimes on the boundaries you were talking about, on the yesing, the example you gave for yesing.
yes.
And especially when I work with couples, that yesing seems to happen a lot with the underlying dynamic of, I just want to get you off my back right now. I don't like conflict. I want to avoid conflict. So I'll avoid conflict by saying something I yes to that I don't really mean yes to. And then it becomes a problem later. So I'm just curious, do you run into that in your work with the boundaries and the yesing?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of my clients classify themselves as people pleasers, and they will over yes. And so it'll come down to which consequence are you willing to live with? Are you willing to live with the consequence of that person being angry with you, or your internal war?
Yeah, choose your consequences.
Choose your consequence and go with it. I actually had an intake session with a new client, and she insisted on receiving therapy based on a particular psychological theory, which I don't know that theory. And I explained that to her. And she said, well, I like you. I like your energy. Can you just look it up? It's not that complicated. So if I were a people pleaser, I would have said yes. I might have canceled her later, or I would have wasted my time trying to learn a new theory that is not my domain. So in recognizing my scope of practice and where my expertise lies, I responded to her. I said, no, I won't do that. There are other therapists who are already experts in there, and you're welcome to request one. So over-yesing is absolutely a problem. They try to teeter on pleasing and then being okay when you can't. Yeah. You had a question?
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, very well done.
Thank you.
I'd like to hone in on tip number 4. You had your cosmic superheroes
Yes.
to help you. I'm not sure that's the right term, but and we know that in today's world there is sort of a loneliness epidemic, people having trouble making connections. For those of us that don't have this cosmic group, could you maybe hone in a little bit on that tip and how we might encourage healthier connections with others?
Yes. client who's in her late 20s, and she's depressed because by now she should be married, she should have an established career, she should have children. Okay, so what are you doing to bring that about? Nothing. She's not engaging in any social groups or activities. I recommend first finding a group of people that with a shared interest. That way there's no one-on-one pressure to be a certain way, and you already have something in common, like a hiking group or a book club. That can be very helpful. I completely recommend reducing screen time and getting outside, being active. You can meet people at the gym. You can meet people on a hike. You can meet people playing tennis. So to be more social, be more social. And it sounds like an oversimplification, and I'm doing that on purpose.
I have a question.
Just a minute, we have somebody else.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see somebody else. I'm just seeing her.
Okay.
I'm just saying that we have a.
I'm so sorry.
Who is it?
Glenn, I have a question for a nice presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was very enjoyable having you on the radio, too.
Thank
So, I was having fun with you playing devil's advocate. So let me play devil's advocate for a second. You asked us whether or not we made assumptions, which is a great question. Of course, we all do. But question is this: assumptions are largely precedent-based in life. So my background, for example, is in marketing, and I know that 9 out of 10 things you try in marketing in this world will fail. So the assumption is that when you try something, it's going to fail. But I know that's dangerous because that's not positive thinking. And when you get into generalizations, generalizations generally are true. So how do you step into a positive frame of mind when you know that something, numerically at least, is probably going to fail? Is there a mindset or a shift or is that neuro-linguistic programming? How do you get over that barrier of, because assumptions are important for safety, because without them you can't make good choices. And I don't know if that question is clear enough.
It is clear. My first response to your question is that your assumption in marketing is based on your experience, past and present. You know what the Consumer Reports and those things say about marketing, so you're basing your decisions on some founded information. Assumptions are, I'm just guessing. Are you guessing that this won't work, or you know this is the trend in marketing? So there's a difference between learning from your experience. People who make assumptions in the way I'm talking about, they don't learn from their experience. They continue to make assumptions. So my other answer to that is, if you think something is not going to work out, say for example, you're going for a job interview tomorrow, right? Okay? Oh, I'm going to be so nervous, I don't know, when I get tongue-tied, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Okay? It may not go well. That is a real possibility. Yet, you back it up to what you have personal control over now. You can rehearse. You can come up with answers to the typical questions. You can research the company so you can share your knowledge with them and help promote yourself. So you back it up, have the assumption, and you back it up, what can I do about that now? Then that's where the reality-based work is done.
That makes sense.
Jay, back there.
Yeah, just a kind of a comment. There's a difference between programming and experience. And so society programs you for certain heuristics, like judging somebody by their appearance or their skin color, their race, their religion. You don't necessarily know that. That's just folk wisdom or something like that. So what do you know personally to be true versus is that just some piece of crap you were handed when you were a kid? So, test your assumptions. And feel free to edit them, so in some cases it might be true. Don't touch a hot stove, You know, being an adult and figure it out.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else?
I try to live in the now. Okay. And the now is a quick upset. And sometimes we stay behind because emotions is too fast and this is slower. And then to put that and this together in a good way is difficult.
It is challenging.
It's very challenging.
So one of the first steps in emotional intelligence is when you're experiencing the feelings, the chaotic energy in your body, the knot in the stomach, the chest pressure, the lump in the throat, the heat, is to self-soothe. Distance yourself as much as you can from the trigger, as safely as you can. So if you're in a heated argument with your spouse, for example, you know what, I need some space. Go to the other room and calm down. So you contain the energy of the feelings. And that will allow the mind to come and assist you in unpacking the rest of it.
That's good. I got another two. The response of my body, because I look to my body inside and try to acknowledge, because it can do a lot of stuff good to ourselves emotionally. It has the control of it. But we are, in my case, sometimes don't know how to acknowledge all that complex.
Okay?
Okay?
Okay.
And then I do something, or sleep, or walk.
Okay.
Most of the time my body put me in the sleep way. I don't choose, it's the body who chooses. The body is autosufficient to help me as Myrna. And then I observe my body because of that. Right away I sleep 4, 5 hours, 7, sometimes I wake up next day and everything is clean.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Let me just take this moment to remind you that I do have a raffle of my favorite health and wellness tools. One of my journal notebooks, essential oils from Young Living, Booster C, which is a great immune boosting product from USANA. It's their proprietary blend of vitamin C, echinacea, elderberry, and zinc. And I use it a lot when I start to feel peaked. Also, have 2 tickets to a walk with Peter Finkel, with Walk Ashland. Say hi to Peter. So you get a free raffle ticket with any purchase, just FYI. Okay.
Well, thank you again, Glenn. I appreciate your fielding the questions, and you're available, I gather, for...
Yes, I will sign all books, yes.
And talk from there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to say something. We put evaluations on each table. There should be one for everyone. We'd like your feedback. And you can just leave them on the table and then I'll pick them up. Also, we were passing around clipboard to get contact information. I don't know where it is in the room. But we'd like, oh, right here. So we'd like to get information about who's attending so we can communicate with you in the future. We have 4 more presentations over the next 6 months. So we'd like to be able to send you information. Okay?
Is there a donation for the refreshments?
No, it's free of charge. No money needed.
I didn't make